Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final Power Hour of the year. Glad to be here with you finally on a regular rotation. So it's super exciting. And give me 1 second. I got a tech issue here for some reason. There we go. Okay. Well, first off, can everybody hear me okay? That's kind of public enemy number one. I got to make sure get my microphone all set up properly and get my camera all good. All right. So can everybody hear me and see me okay? Making sure there's no delay or lag. I'm not hearing or seeing a thing. So we're going to figure this out. All right. I got a new microphone. So as you all can tell here, I got a new microphone and I've got some new settings all dialed in. Okay, good. Okay, I was starting to have a little mini heart attack there. So I asked the question and then all of a sudden silence. And now all the comments are coming in. So anyway, I got a new microphone and I got this because I probably have complained enough about the microphone that I had previously. It was a good microphone, but it just didn't do very well with my voice. So I got some new settings and some new equipment and software all dialed in. So awesome. All right. So everybody, good stuff. Okay. So let's see what everybody is working on here. Let's see. Cora from Ontario, Canada. Awesome. Luana, welcome. And Rachel TTV started live streaming writing prompts that chat participates in. Awesome. Finishing up the horror story we started last Saturday before tonight's stream. Very good. And Luana is working on my fantasy novel for kids and drinking hot chocolate on a rainy day in Shaker Heights, Ohio. Awesome. And TextVet Jeb working on chapter 10 of my hard-boiled novel, Drinking Coke Zero. Writing a novella. Megan is writing a novella titled Hecate, Vengeful Warrior, and currently drinking coffee. Very intriguing title. And Tim working on a sci-fi novel that I went really hard on a year ago and then let languish. Cool. Well, hey, it's always good to pick up old projects. All right. And Chop Skull Theater, welcome. First timer. Everybody say hello to Chop Skull Theater. Thanks for coming. And we'll talk about the structure and the format of the stream. So rest assured, it's all good here. And Dot, Chile, Southern California, starting a new fantasy novel, I should say. Previous one fell apart. So rest in peace. All right, and drinking some coffee. Good stuff. And Stephanie, drinking water and rearranging scenes and adding bits here and there to my finished draft of my Dragon detective novel. Very cool. Well, awesome. Good stuff, everybody. It looks like we're all working on some very cool stuff. So what I'm going to do here, and everyone's saying hello to Chop Skull. So good stuff. Well, I have some announcements just real quick for everybody, just so you kind of know some things that are going on that I haven't been the greatest at sharing lately. But I've finally got my studio back. I'm missing my painting still, but that is what it is. So I finally got everything reorganized. My basement flooded a few weeks ago, and so I finally got that back and set up. And then I'm going to be in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia this coming week. So I'm kind of getting like all my stuff ready. So I'm speaking at the Jeddah Book Fair, and they're having a publishing conference there. And the focus is on science fiction and fantasy and self-publishing. So very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting trip. Flying out, it's going to be a very, very long flight, long flights, I should say. So I've been preparing for that. So in the off chance, I'm 99.999% certain that none of you are in Saudi Arabia. But if you are, please let me know. I would love to meet you. So it's going to be fun. All right. So just want to let you know that. And then also, I am working on, I don't know if any of you have heard of the Whisper AI transcription engine. I had to think about that for a second, what it's actually called. So most of you are familiar with Dragon, and some of you are transcribers. So you basically speak your audio into a voice recorder, and then you upload it to Dragon, and then Dragon will transcribe your text and turn your voice into text. All right. Well, there's a new speech recognition software that just came out from OpenAI. They're the same people that did DALL-E, and they've done a lot of AI stuff. They released a new model, and it's called Whisper. And you can basically upload audio to it, and it will transcribe it with extremely high accuracy. And the interesting thing about it is that it actually transcribes some punctuation. So you don't have to speak periods, and you don't have to speak commas, which I know is a big roadblock for some people. So anyway, I've been working with someone, a programmer, to figure out how to integrate this OpenAI engine into an app to see if there's some way that I could use that, and other people might be able to use it. And when I saw it, I kind of thought, okay, this is really interesting because this is a tool that Mac users could potentially use because Mac users don't have Dragon, right? So I don't know how it's going to work. The programmer has built the app. I don't know if I'm ultimately going to share it with anyone because we'll have to see how it goes. But the programmer and I have been talking about making it open source so that we can at least share the information so someone could use it as a stepping stone, so that someone in the future, if this app isn't it, someone in the future could potentially use this to develop a transcription app for Mac users so that Mac users can get the power of dictation without having to worry about installing Dragon on their computers. So there's a lot of other uses that could be really helpful too, like podcasts, getting podcast transcripts and things like that. So I just want to let you all know that that's going to be pretty cool. And let's see here. Okay, and then final thing, final piece of news here that I wanted to let everybody know. I hinted at it last Power Hour, but I finally released Be a Writing Machine 2. So it now has a sequel. So Write Faster and Smarter, Beat Writer's Block, and Be Prolific basically gathers all the lessons that I have learned since writing the first Be a Writing Machine and put it into a book. So many of you ask me all the time to do a video on writing on my phone, and there's really no good video I can do for it yet. Maybe I'll come up with something, but there is a chapter in this book on writing on your phone, and it goes pretty in-depth on how to do it, how to get set up, all that stuff. There's a chapter on dictation. There's some more strategies to help you beat writer's block, and lots of other good stuff about writing quotas and productivity and regulating your productivity over time. Like I said, all stuff that I use on a daily basis. And so I thought it'd be really cool to put together in a book. It's I will have a page on my website. I'm actually building that today. But in the meantime, I've just got got you linked over to the books to read if anyone is interested in that. And it is available in ebook and paperback right now. Large print is coming by the end of the week. And then I just submitted the audiobook version to Audible and Findaway Voices. So the previous narrator that did the first book, John Fryer, he is doing the second book, and we're done with it. So it is submitted and hopefully will be available by Christmas, but we'll have to see. All right, but I'll do another major announcement when the audiobooks come out and get all synced up. So just wanted to let you guys know you are the first to get the official announcement that Be a Writing Machine 2 is now live. Okie dokie. And just a reminder for those Power Hour regulars, if you purchase any books from my website directly, you can get 15% off. I will throw the link to Be a Writing Machine. It is available on my store. It's just not quite available. I don't have a page yet, so I'll put a link to that in the comments if anyone is interested in that, picking up Be a Writing Machine 2. But that's a standing coupon code that I give to everyone in the Power Hour just as a thank you for showing up. So just wanted to let you know that. And lastly, I want to go over just real quick, since we have a few new people. Let's see here. I guess I should read comments as I as I talk here, everybody. So Nicholas Cato says for the app open source for the win. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of open source. So let's see. And Rachel, does the second Be a Writing Machine give technical instructions or advice on your setup? Yes, I do talk about my gear, and I do talk a little bit about like setup. The important thing is, like with setup, I talk about dictation a little bit. There are some things that you can think about when you're dictating that I think will point you in the right direction to help you get cleaner text. And I do talk about my setup, like with my like writing on my phone, and some things that I've used, like Bluetooth keyboards for writing on my phone as well. So there should be something in there for everybody. Okay. And let's see. TextVet Jeb, I'm still outlining, but even if you do, there's still tons of stuff in that book you can use to write faster. And it's funny you mentioned that, Jonathan, because I have a section in the book. It's called Outlining Secrets. So you all know that I'm a pantser. I'm a serial pantser. Can't get around it. But I do actually have some tips in this book specifically for outliners to be more productive. So I don't want people to think that I'm just pantsing all the time and only providing advice for pantsers. There is some advice in here that's going to help outliners as well, and particularly with writing sloppy and writing clean. All right. Luana says, I've been outlining and pantsing at the same time. Is this normal? It's okay. I mean, do whatever works for you. So if you've got like a Frankenstein method, then use the Frankenstein method. Right? Okay. Let's see. Rachel TV, hearing about your productivity from your link devices is something I've been curious about. Yeah. I'm a big believer in modifying your technique so that you can write anywhere in the world at any time. So, for example, I'm going to Saudi Arabia. I will be writing on my phone, and I'm also taking my laptop, but I'm also taking my voice recorder. So, probably dictate at the hotel or something, but I've got it set up to where I can hook my voice recorder up to my computer, upload the audio into the cloud, and then have my computer at home with Dragon transcribe that audio and then send it back to me so I can access it in Saudi. So there's lots of stuff you can do. So, if you think about that, that's kind of the North Star. All right. Okay, so good stuff, everybody. So I know we've got a few new folks here, so I'm going to talk about the structure of this live stream, and you all know what I'm about to say. It will be brief. So on these streams, we essentially get together and write toward our novels. So you can pull up your novel, you can pull up your script, you can pull up your app or your code or whatever you want to work on. All right. And I'm going to put a timer up on the screen, and the timer is going to count down from 20 minutes, and play some relaxing music if you want to hear that. If not, just put music of your own on. And then at the end of the 20 minutes, we'll come back, we'll debrief, we'll chat, shoot the breeze. I'll answer any questions that you have, and we'll just kind of celebrate the fact that we've been able to be productive. And then we'll do this 3 times. All right, so I call it a power hour because it's technically 90 minutes. And after the third session, you guys know that I will stay on as long as possible until all of your questions are answered. I do have a bit of a hard stop at probably noonish today, just because I've got to run some errands and stuff, but I will stay on until, at least until noon, if you guys are still bringing in the questions. All right. Okay. So, and you all know this. My veterans know this. Inevitably, there's always somebody that comes in and says, "What is he doing? Why is there no stream? Why is there a timer on the screen?" Just help a brother out in the comments. Let people know what's happening here so we can go ahead and get started. So this is our last power hour of the year. You guys believe that? It's kind of crazy. Last power hour of the year. So, yeah. The next time we're chatting is going to be 2023, but let's not talk about that. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's get the first writing timer on the screen. So I'm going to get the timer on the screen. The music will start soon, and happy writing, everybody. All right, everybody. Thank you for all of that here. So first things first, give me 1 second here. Yeah, sorry my mic was live. I think I hit the wrong button or something. So it is all good. So I'll make sure to capture that. I got this new audio setup, and I've got this foot pedal underneath my desk, and it controls like all of like my live streaming stuff. But sometimes when I go over to other applications, it can trigger the mic. So my apologies on that. All right, let's see here. Okay, so here's what I want to know. How did everybody do in your word counts? So let me know what your word count was. So post your word count here. And then while everyone is doing that, I wanted to just, I don't know, talk about the year and just ask some questions. I'm kind of curious on how everybody has been doing this year. So, you know, while you're posting your word count, you know, we could also post what's the number one thing you're most proud of this year as a writer. So what did you accomplish that you're really proud of? So like I've done a lot this year. Like I'm aiming to write 1 million words. So at least not this year, but for next year. But I feel like I've gotten set up for that. So I've been able to do, not lately, but for the most part in October and September or September and October, about 3,000 words a day. All right. So November is going to be kind of a killer because I've got some travel and stuff. But in December might not be so good because of the holidays. But I'm still aiming to write 1 million words over the next year. And so I've done a lot to kind of get me prepared for that. I've kind of got dictation going. So dictation is really cool. And I've got my voice recorder all set up and all that good stuff. So I feel like I'm in a really good spot heading into January. And I kind of want to know from all of you, what are you most proud of this year? Like, what's your greatest accomplishment? All right. Let's see. And then while the words are coming in, we got some new setups as well. Let's see. Okay, so TextFetJeb, 250 words this round. Rachel TV 367.c286. Okay, so I'm starting to see a few things come in. Okay, Nicholas Cato Strode. This year, I published those 2 novels I spoke about during the last session. Awesome. I worked far slower, so that was the culmination of 3 years of work. Well, hey, that's good stuff. And MJ, 5 multiple times. I finished a cover, proud of starting my own while really helping others with theirs. Good stuff. Yeah, that's what our community is all about, is helping everybody, right? And Jonathan, must be proud I didn't give up. I almost did after a bad developmental editor experience. Took 8 months off and am back at it. Well, good stuff. Yeah, don't let the editor keep you down. All right. And Celinda, I got the audio produced for my debut novel. Good stuff. Yeah, audio for fiction is it's tops. So good luck with that. All right. Cora, shooting for 750K words for the coming year, about 2K a day. Yeah, that's a very manageable goal. It's a brisk pace, right? So if you miss a few days, it's not too brutal. But yeah, good luck with that. Okay, Rachel TV coming up with a game plan to grow my community while I have motivation to write. I have a clear path toward reaching my goals, and I have milestones set up for next year. Good stuff. So it sounds like you've done the strategy and the planning, and now it's just a matter of putting those pieces together. All right, that's why I love doing strategy. And if any of you have not thought about your goals for next year, now is the time to do it. You guys know I like to do that in October so that I can spend the fourth quarter just kind of chilling out. But if you haven't done it, December is the third best time to do it. November is the second best time. December is the third best time. And I suppose if you have to start planning your goals January, you can do it. But yeah. All right. So Linda says, oh, the audiobook only took 4 years. Yeah. It takes some time. And they're not cheap to produce either. Luana, I still need to gain more confidence as a new writer. I fear the critics' reviews of my novel. Well, Luana, just think about this. No one's going to come to your house and picket or protest outside your house because they don't like your novel. They're just going to sit in a dark room somewhere, type something up to try to hurt you, and then move on to somebody else. So don't give any power to some random trolls over the internet. At the end of the day, they can't do anything to you. Yeah, they leave you some bad reviews, but at the end of the day, if you keep writing, you'll find your tribe. It just sometimes can take some time. All right, Stephanie, my first book was published, and I have completed the first draft of book 2. Nicely done. Nicely done. Okay, I'm starting to see some questions come in as well, but I want to celebrate everyone's successes because I think this is really important. We do these power hours and we write, but we should also celebrate and be proud of what we've done this year. So .c had the courage to ditch a project that wasn't working rather than trying to beat a dead horse. Yeah, I love that you use the word courage because that's exactly what it is. It takes a lot of courage to do that. All right, Guardian Dog Media I finished my second book in my book 3 series and began a new series in steampunk. Awesome. And Wyland said, it's been a really tough year for me between injuries, illnesses, and a lot going wrong, but I can say I'm proud of the responses I've gotten from my daughter and their friends. Not sure what the rest of your sentence says, but I'm picking up what you're laying down, Wyland, and that's good. It's been a tough year for me too, just medical and other things. And at the end of the day, all we can do is just keep going, right? All right, let's see here. Okay, Greblocks, being very picky these days. This year has been crazy. I'm still most proud of my work in progress. Now I'm living in a new country, Turkey, where I teach to pay the bills. All right. Yeah, Turkey. I've heard, you're not the first person I know who has lived in Turkey. Really good stuff. All right. So many comments here. Okay. Jocelyn, planning to publish my work in progress, first sci-fi project in 2023. Awesome. I've made excellent progress with it this year. Good stuff. Okay, so there were some questions that came in. Jonathan asked, Michael, do you use Publisher Rocket? I do. I do use Publisher Rocket, and I highly recommend it. It is a great tool. Definitely watch some videos on how to use it. There's a certain technique you should probably follow, and Dave covers that in a lot of the stuff the videos that he has done. Dave Chesson, the creator of it. So definitely watch some videos, but I definitely recommend it. If anyone's interested, authorlevelup.com/publisher rocket. It's an affiliate link, but yeah, it's a great tool, and I use it for a lot of things. Hopefully that link works. But I use it for a lot of things. I use it to find keywords for my Amazon ebooks. I use it for competitive research to see what types of categories and stuff other people are in. And then the bigger reason I've used it lately, is for Amazon ads. So being able to find a lot of different keywords and things for Amazon ads has been really useful. So yeah, highly recommend that one. Okay. MJ, how do you keep count of your words? Well, MJ, I use a good old Excel spreadsheet. It's nothing fancy. So I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute, so you can hear my footsteps getting onto soapbox. Okay, so here's the problem I've had with word counts over the years. If you use an app like Scrivener or I think even Dabble has some really cool word count features. Most of the major writing apps have some sort of statistical analysis that kind of gives you an understanding of how many words you've written on your project. The problem I've had with that, and I love that feature, I have no problem with that feature at all. The problem I've had is that when I bounce between projects, there's no writing app that I know of, with the exception of, I think, Atticus, which I don't know if they've activated this yet, that will track your word counts across all of your projects. So, for example, when I did Beast Mode, I was writing a lot of books, and so I kind of wanted to know, okay, yeah, I was writing Be a Writing Machine too, but then I was also writing another book at the same time. And so I kind of wanted to know, okay, what's my word count for the day across those two projects? And there's no writing app that I know of that can do that, unfortunately. So it's only going to give you the word count per project. So what I do is I put together a spreadsheet, and it's actually a Google sheet. And it just has, it's really simple. Well, it's not 100% simple. There's some formulas and stuff in there, but it's not that hard, essentially, if you know Excel and formulas and stuff. And they're basic formulas. But I basically have the date, and then I have the number of words, and then I have some formulas calculate what percentage I am toward my goal and how many words I have left to write for the year and all that good stuff. So I've actually thought about releasing the word tracker that I use. I don't know if anyone would be interested in it. The challenge I'm having is I'd have to do a new one every year because of the dates and stuff. But if you're interested in that, if you'd be interested in that, let me know, because I kind of have thought it would be free. I wouldn't charge for it. It's literally just a way for you to track your progress and your projects, and literally just enter in a number and you get a nice report card, summary view. So that's how I do it, MJ. I'm positive that's probably not the answer that most people wanted to hear. I don't know how comfortable you are with Google Sheets or Excel, but to me, that's the best way at this time. I think Atticus is working on that. Anyone who uses Atticus, that's a pretty cool feature that I think will help them stand out. Okay. I have another question, but just looking at the comments that came in. Okay. Another question that came in before the break, and then we'll jump into our next session. Krish asked, how do you use cliches and tropes? Do you try to reinvent, or even the common thing can be great too? Yeah, Krish, what I do is I don't think about tropes that much. Here's the thing. I actually did a study on one of my novels, and I wrote down, this novel was actually The Last Dragon Lord, Old Dark, book 1, by the way. I basically went through that book, and I pulled out every single trope that I could find, and it was like hundreds of them, right? And I went to tbtropes.org, and I looked up every single trope I could find and tried to find tropes in the book. And here's what I found, a very unscientific number. Krish, the number of tropes that I used, I only reinvented, or you could say deviated from, or did something different or twisted, about 20% of them. The other 80%, I was usually right on the nose with the tropes. So it was that 20% that made it an interesting series. So it's a series about a bloodthirsty dragon lord seeking revenge against the conspiracy that overthrew him. And there's quite a few things in there that are a little unusual and a little different for dragon books. All right. And epic urban fantasy books is kind of what I call it. It's epic urban. But the other 80%, right on the nose fantasy tropes. So when you don't think about your tropes too much, I think that's probably better, because usually what I have found is about 80% of the time, it's okay to kind of just do. Readers like tropes because they feel familiar. All right. It's kind of like putting on your favorite t-shirt comfortable, it makes them comfortable. And so if you are trying too hard and trying to subvert every single trope, then it's not familiar to them. And they like something that's familiar but feels a little bit different in certain ways. All right. So short answer to your question, but that's how I would think about it. Don't get too caught up on, I need to subvert this trope or that. Just write the story that feels organic to you, and you'll find that happens naturally. Okay, so I did see some more questions come in, but I do want to get to the next writing session. So I'm going to put the next timer up, and then I'll get to the questions that came in just a few minutes ago in our next session. All right, so let's get to it. Okay. Everybody, I don't know how that question just popped up there. That was weird. Okay. How did everybody do? I want to know the word counts. Let me know what your word counts are here. Let's see. So we got a lot of questions that came in. So I may not talk about the word counts as much just in the interest of time. But I'm seeing everybody post their word counts, which is awesome. So we had a question come in before the break, and it was from Wylan. What's your overall feeling toward the short stories now that you've been writing them consistently for a few months? Any big lessons you've learned so far? Yeah, so for people that don't know, I have been writing a lot of short stories lately. I'm doing the Ray Bradbury Challenge, where I'm writing a short story every week for 52 weeks. I am a little bit behind schedule. Last week kind of threw me off a little bit, but I have no doubts that I should be able to complete the challenge and catch up, no problem. So the big lessons that I've learned are that it takes a couple of stories before you get comfortable with writing short stories. Another lesson that I've learned is that the Lester Dent method is amazing. It is absolutely fantastic. And I have adopted that method with all of my short stories. So if you've never heard of it, look it up. I think the big thing that hung me up with the Lester Dent method was the word counts. So Lester Dent says, basically, you divide your story into quarters. And in each quarter of the story, there's certain beats of what happens. And I found that is a very, very compelling way to write a story. It works really well for my brain. What doesn't work really well is the allocation of word counts to each quarter. So I was trying to, so I got a 6,000 word story, the first 2,500 words need to be this, then I need to do that. And that was really messing with me. So when I stopped thinking about word counts, and I just took the formula for what it was, then I found that the stories got longer and I didn't have to worry so much, and it did wonders. I may write a book about writing short stories at some point. Not so much how to, but just more of the logistics, the mechanics of doing it. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I would highly recommend the Ray Bradbury Challenge for anyone. It's not an easy thing to do. Okay, Christina, question 1 of 2. I'm writing a low fantasy novel set in a secondary world. I feel like my main fantasy element isn't fantasy enough, and my novel reads like it's almost set in our world. Any suggestions on how I amp up the fantasy element so that they don't feel so mundane? Well, Christina, you're writing low fantasy, at least what you have dubbed as low fantasy, and I've always taken low fantasy to be something that is a little bit more mundane and that kind of takes place in our world. I mean, or an alternate version of our world, as opposed to high fantasy that takes place in, historically what has been considered a European kind of medieval inspired vogue. So I don't know. In terms of ramping up your fantasy elements, do you need to? I mean, I think that there are a lot of people that like fantasy that's kind of set in our world. I think, I would think of the major tent poles of fantasy. One, is there magic, and is it front and center? And it doesn't have to be front and center in the beginning of the story, but over the course of the novel, magic should be present in some form, right? So that's first checkbox. Second checkbox is, do you have a party? Meaning not like a fiesta or anything like that, but a party of characters. Right? Because fantasy is usually about a team of characters fighting against the bad guys. All right. Number 3, do the good guys win at the end of the fantasy? And and then you can pick your poison as to whether there are supernatural creatures or other things like that. But if you're not writing high fantasy, you can get away with a lot with fantasy that takes place in our world. I was reading a book. I won't say the name of it. I really enjoyed it, but I won't say the name of it. But I was reading a novel by another indie author, and it was a fantastic novel. And when I started reading it, it was meant to be like an urban fantasy, and I was like, okay, that's great, but there's like no magic in this. You don't really even see the magic in the story until about halfway. and then and then all of a sudden, oh crap, it's really in your face. But up until then, it's super subtle, and you'd almost argue that there's almost no magic in the novel. And then halfway through, it changes. And that novel, I mean, it's got like tens of thousands of reviews, and people love it. And so that kind of taught me, you don't really necessarily like it. The magic doesn't have to be in page one. But I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point, Christina. I think, if you've written the story and you've kind of written the story that's on your heart, maybe the level of magic is where it needs to be. All right. But, you let me know. You comment on how well I answered your question. Okay. Let's see. Luana. Sometimes when I'm writing, my characters seem to dictate to me and dictate to me what they want to do and how they want the story to be. How can I prevent this? Why would you want to prevent that, Luana? That's a good thing. Your character's telling you what to do. Listen to that. Don't inhibit that instinct, because when you do that, you basically, there's the creative voice and there's the critical voice. The creative voice is that voice of your characters. It's the toddler in the back of your brain, as Dean Wesley Smith says, that kind of wants to play and there's no boundaries. The critical voice is that inner critic. And when you silence those characters, you're letting your inner critic in. So if your characters are speaking to you, let them tell you what to do. Listen to them all day long. I don't think you can ever go wrong when you sing that song. Okay. So everybody's got some good word counts coming in. That's fantastic. Let's see. Rachel, what do you consider a short story? Chapters, pages, or word count? I would probably say anything under 12,500 words maybe is a short story. Actually, no, I take that back. Just forget I said that. I actually believe that the Science Fiction Fantasy Writers Association has the best definition of a short story. Look it up on their website. That is what the major magazines adhere to. With the definition of a novel, people will beat each other senseless talking about what's a novel. 30,000 words a novel. No, it's 40,000. No, it's 50. No, a novel should be 80,000. And I just think that's a silly, trivial conversation. But short stories, I think it's a little bit more defined. And I think it's like somewhere between 7,500 and 12,500. So, yeah, as long as your story falls in that range, you're good. All right. Okie dokie. So everybody is doing great. I saw some word counts coming in. So why don't we jump into our last writing session, and then we'll shoot the breeze and can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. I probably have a few things I'll talk about as well. Okay, so third session, let's go.
baby. It's me. I was just calling to chat with you a little bit. I miss you a lot. And I miss hearing your voice.
All right. Hopefully that voice didn't throw people off. The little voicemail in the last song. Sometimes people are like, oh, my goodness. Anyway. All right. How did everybody do? All right. I want to know your final word count. How are you feeling? And then while you're doing that, I'm going to twist the script a little bit. I want to know, what are your goals? What's your number one goal for 2023? So we've gotten through another year. By George, we did it. So now, as you look forward to December 2023, what is it that you want to have accomplished? Just one thing. Here's my belief. I'm a believer that if you write your goals down, you are more likely to achieve them. But you can write 100 goals down, and you might only achieve, a fraction of those goals, right? So when you distill your goals down to one thing, we can all achieve one thing next year, right? I mean, we can all probably achieve a lot more than one thing, but what's the one thing you want to achieve next year? All right. Yeah, Rachel, I know that throws people off every time. That is a song with a voicemail in it, and people are talking. Yeah, I actually like that song a lot, but yeah, it's kind of funny. All right. Nicholas Cato Strodo, hope to get this next novel published by 2023. Very, very cool. And that's good stuff. All right. So Wylan, number one goal for 2023 is to actually fully finish and publish my first novel. I know that was my goal this year, but I'm absolutely determined this year. Well, sometimes our goals get pushed back, and that's okay. What I like to say to everybody is that you're always a writer. You only stop being a writer if you quit. So if you put down the pen and you say, I'm never going to do this again, then yeah, you're not a writer anymore. But as long as you continue writing, you're always a writer, and we all have goals, right? So it's good stuff. Yeah, you're definitely getting closer. All right. Komodo, around 300 words. My goal is to finish at least 5 volumes of my current new project. Nice. I like your avatar, by the way. That's a really cool avatar. It catches your eye, especially the little tongue, and I like the cheeks of the Komodo dragon there. It's pretty cool. All right. Okay, Jonathan, I wrote the roadmap to make that happen yesterday. So your goal, I mean, it's good stuff. I love planning and strategy. That's one of the things that I love. And it's not so much just the planning, but it's seeing your actions bear fruit, the things that you actually planned. I mean, you can't plan for everything, and there's always going to be twists, but directionally, if you can at least move in the right direction, it's really satisfying when you start being able to get things done. Okay, .c, learn and do marketing. Cool. Yeah, I feel like with writing and productivity, you definitely can, at least this is my experience, is that I tend to focus so much on productivity that sometimes I don't think about marketing as much. Like, I was going to announce my book, Be a Writing Machine 2 today, and oh crap, I didn't put that page on my website, which it is now live on my website, by the way. That's what I was doing during the power hour today. So it's now featured on my website, but I realized, wait a minute, I didn't think about that. So yeah, learning and learning how to do marketing is kind of, it's one of our Achilles heels, one of our challenges, but not insurmountable. All right, Milk Dreams. By next December, I want to publish my first novel. Well, good luck. It's exciting. All right. Greblocks, to self-publish my manuscript that I've been working on for so long. I feel like I'm seeing a theme. Like, I feel like a lot of people are wanting to publish their first books next year. That's really cool. it just goes to show you, like there's always more authors coming into the industry, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So I'm excited for all of you to publish your first novel. It's going to be fun to get into the stream of commerce, and once you publish your first book, then things change. The paradigm changes. There are paradigm shifts, I think is the proper phrase, because then you're not so much focused on that getting the book out, you're focused on other things, and then your horizon starts to change, and that's just a really exciting transformation to go through. All right, Wylan, what's the next thing you want to do to challenge yourself further as an author? I know you've been doing short stories and the pulp count, but what's next? Well, Wylan, that's a really good question. So right now, I said that 2022 was the year for me to kind of get all my fundamentals in order. So I focused a lot on some infrastructure things this year. So giving myself the tools to write faster and smarter. So adopting voice recorder dictation has allowed me to write, double, triple my word counts every single day. I've upgraded my equipment, like my microphone. I've gotten some new apps that help me be more productive so that I can really hit the ground running next year. So I kind of got into Facebook ads, kind of got those all figured out. I've just spent a lot of time. I did a quality project to where I went through all of my books and just made sure that the prices and the book descriptions and I have the right versions on file, and rewriting some book descriptions here and there. I did some rebranding of some of my series. I bought out some of my narrators on some old royalty shares that I did with ACX that were not good. So I spent a lot of time this year investing in just like the infrastructure of my writing business. And so I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to start bearing fruit next year. One, by being able to write over 1 million words per year and the productivity that produces. But not just being able to write a book and throw it out there, right? Also being able to write as many books with as high quality as possible. So that's why another thing I've been doing this year is working on my macros. So making sure that when I dictate text, I've got code and programming that can clean it up without having to worry about, spending a whole lot of time editing. So I guess to kind of bring this full circle, my goals as a writer is, one, to become a world-class content creator. And world-class content creation to me means quality and quantity. So how can you write as many books as possible with the highest quality possible? Those are always the projects that I work on. And then become a technology and data-driven writer. So how can I use data and technology to uncover opportunities to help me become more productive and to sell more books, right? So I've done a lot of technological projects and things like that this year, which I won't go into. Like the Whisper project is a perfect example of that. I mentioned that at the beginning. You might not have been on Wylan, but I'm working on an alternative to kind of Dragon transcription, and then to become the writer of the future. So what future technologies can I play around with? I dabbled a lot this year in AI art. All right. I'm going to start doing my own book covers next year. So I think the next thing for me is, how can I take everything that I have been doing over the last few years, specifically this year, and then next year and beyond, how can I parlay that into a self-sufficient writing business that earns a profit on its own, earns a profit by itself. All right. So I'm already profitable. I'm really happy with where I am in my career, but self-sufficient writing I think is important. So how can all the things that I'm doing pay for themselves? And I think when I can get there, then then it's just a matter of scale, and then it's just a matter of picking the right projects and kind of pouring gasoline on what I'm doing. So, yeah, a lot of fun. All right. Jonathan, goal is to publish book 1 by August 15th and book 2 by November 20th. Awesome. And Luana, my goal is to gain more confidence as a writer. And Luana, the more you write, the more confidence you'll get. All right. And Mazid, number 1 goal for me is to finally work on my first novel. Again, like I said, I'm seeing a trend. It's good stuff. Okay. Angela, I'd like to publish the short story I worked on today. I wrote 400 more words. Awesome. Well, hopefully you're close to getting that published. And Rachel TTV, 1,200 words this session. My goal next year is to have a fully fledged, ready for publishing book. I'm also working on building my own writers networking community. All right, good. Yeah, it's never too early to do that, for sure. And it sounds like you're taking those steps. Okay, when I finish my first book, I would love to send you a copy. Yep. Certainly. Yeah, I'm open to that. So just reach out to me on my contact, Wylan, and we can get that orchestrated. All right. Sorry, guys, I got to take out the trash. Got a few clowns in the chat. Okay, let's see here. Wylan, 1,000,000 words is essentially 20 novels, give or take. No, I think it's more than that, Wylan. I think it's more than that. I think it's let's see. 1,000,000 divided by 50,000. Oh, you're right. Okay, my bad. I always feel like it's more than that. I feel like it's more than that, but it's actually a little bit less than that for me because I'm writing short stories, obviously, and then I also write nonfiction too. So I think the distribution of the 1,000,000 words for me is going to be somewhere around 70-30, 70% being fiction and 30% being nonfiction. At least that's my ideal. And so you talk about what's next. Another thing that I'm really thinking about is my distribution, like my book mix. So right now I'm about, I think 50-50 fiction versus nonfiction. I would like to be long-term, and this takes a long time to kind of move your mix. I would like to be somewhere in the realm of 70-80% fiction and then, 20-30% nonfiction. Because I like to earn the majority of my money from my fiction because that gives you guys value. Like, I don't want to be one of those writers that just talks about writing but never writes, right? Or gives you advice that's not practical to you. Like where I think I get a lot of my influence and advantage is that I'm doing the things that I am frequently talking about. And so the more fiction I write, the more value I can give you guys. So long term, over the next 10 years, that's kind of where I want to be. Okay. Yeah. TextFet. Jonathan, your own book covers will save you a bundle. Yes, they will. And, the cost of cover design continues to rise. And I think that there's going to be a day where book covers are going to be unaffordable for a lot of people. It's going that way at this point. I mean, designers have raised their rates just astronomically. There's one designer I follow. I won't say the person's name, but I just pay attention because I see this person raise their rates quite a bit, and it's like 40% every year, and I just don't know how that's sustainable. It makes sense for a designer. I mean, they got to deal with inflation just like everybody else, right? But it's not sustainable, and I think that AI art offers a viable alternative to that. But the problem with AI art right now is that there's a lot of copyright issues that are not quite settled. So I'm playing around with AI art. I'm not publishing anything with AI art yet, but I'm waiting for that day when some court cases come out that kind of settle this and clear the dust a little bit, and then I can put it into production. So yeah, with AI art, that'll help you save a little bit more money. But I'm not in the business of putting designers out of a job. But there's some stuff that AI art can solve that designers just can't. So okay, let's see. Okay, Christina, goal is to get my first novel in shape for publishing in 2023 and launch my indie author career. Good stuff. All right, Wylan, when I found your channel, you had spoken a lot about not doing your own covers. As I had a lot of disagreement. Yeah. It's funny how you change your opinions over time. For sure. I used to be big on not doing your own covers because with the current tools, I just felt like a lot of people kind of did a terrible job and weren't willing to learn how to do it. Right. So if you're willing to learn how to do it and do it right, absolutely recommend it. But the way cover design is going, I just, at my rate, at my pace, I put myself into bankruptcy, with the way cover designers are increasing their rates. So I almost don't have a choice. Like I don't have a choice. So I have to basically learn how to do this and master it and do it at a professional level. All right. Yeah, I've seen a few people offering to send books. Reach out to me on my contact page, authorlevelup.com/contact, and be happy to share some details with you. Okay, Komodo. I've heard that writing is a field where you should hold on from publishing as a beginner, mainly because your first works are likely to be low quality. What's my take on that? Yeah, my take is the exact opposite, Komodo. I think that holding on to your work actually is more detrimental to your career than not. I think it's better to publish your work even if you don't feel like it is up to a polishable standard, because that's the only way that you learn. You have no way of getting feedback as a writer unless that feedback is from readers. Feedback from other writers, to me, does not count. It doesn't count. It's one of the reasons I don't do coaching as a writer, because I don't think that my opinion does you any good as a writer. I don't care who you are. My opinion, and honestly, I don't hold myself up as a guru, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I have all the answers. I think at the end of the day, what it boils down to is, if you publish a story, do readers like it? And if they like it, why do they like it? That will teach you how to become a writer more than advice from anybody. I'm just not, that's, like I said, I probably could make a lot more money if I offered coaching services, but I don't, because I think that at the end of the day, readers are the people that pay your tuition. All right. And so, there's going to be, you publish your first book and maybe it won't go well. Maybe they'll hate the book. And I'm not sitting here saying that, publishing it is going to make you a nice little mint. Readers could, not like your book at all, or they might not buy your book, but they could also love it, and you never know until you publish. And if something I've said a lot is that if you publish a bad book, no one is going to know because they're not going to buy it. Right. So you can kind of fail in public and be invisible in the way that today's publishing industry is kind of set. Right. I mean, just think about it. Think about how hard it is to get your book discovered. It's the number one problem that people talk about all the time. So if no one knows your name, you don't have anyone on your mailing list, or you only have a few people, you don't have a social media presence, why wouldn't you experiment and kind of play around? I mean, it's your opportunity to publish and get things wrong and learn from those mistakes so that when you do start to get some more discoverability, you can do better, And just because you publish something doesn't mean you can't change it later. Now, I'm not really a big fan of going back and re-editing your novels, but certainly with book covers and book descriptions, I mean, you can always go back and tweak that. My thing is, I think that publishing is a journey, and it's also a documentation of where you are at that point in time. And no matter what you do, when you publish a book, 10 years from now, it's going to make you cringe, right? That's just a human nature thing. So if you hold on to all your stuff, you're always going to cringe at it. When in reality, if you publish it, you'll probably be pretty proud of it. I'm just a big fan of doing the best you can. All right. So I know I'm going long, but just do the best you can. I mean, pay for editing, get a professional cover, tell the best story that you can, and then move on and then publish it. That's my belief. All right. Have you ever used or considered Mibble Art? Yeah. Mibble Art did my covers for the Good Necromancer series. I highly, highly recommend them. In fact, I'll throw in my affiliate link for them. They are a Ukrainian cover design company, and they do a really good job. I like working with them a lot. All right. Their wait times have gone up a little bit, but, with the war and all of that, but that just kind of is what it is. As long as they're staying safe, that's the most important thing. Wyland, do you ever apply for award programs? Yeah, Dale's my buddy. Dale's my brother channel. So, I know he's talked about awards in the past. It's not a big thing for me. If you were to do it, I would check out Book Award Pro. That's a good service. They're legit. I've spoken with the owners a few times, and I really like them, and I like their aesthetic and what they're doing. That would be a really good service to check out. But I'm just not a big fan on applying for awards. I mean, I don't know. I think that, at the end of the day, publishing a book is kind of its own reward for me. I know it sounds cheesy and kind of silly, but it is. At the end of the day, I'm not looking for validation from someone else. There is a contest that I do apply to quarterly. It's called Writers of the Future. But that's the only one that I apply to. But other than that, I think the question is, why do you want an award? Is it because you want that validation, or is it just, oh, there's an award, just submit? That's my thought. But nothing wrong with them, but you don't need them to be successful. And don't get fleeced by awards either. That's another area where you can get scammed. If there's an award you're looking at, check out ALLI, the Alliance of Independent Authors. They have a contest directory, and they'll tell you who the scammers are. Okay, Luana, what determines if a novel will stand the test of time? I don't know. Honestly, I think it depends on so many things. It depends on cultural factors, depends on your timing, depends on your story, depends on the type of story you're telling. I think all of us would love to know the answer to that, because then we'd just write novels that stand the test. But I think you write the best novel that you can, and there's always going to be that sub-segment, that 0.0000001% of novels where lightning strikes. But I think if you look at them, I think it's often because they're telling stories that have been told before. In a way, it's just that they're told with a different setting that just happens to hit culturally. Okay. Oh yeah, Wyland. I was mostly wondering if awards help with readership sales. I don't think so. I mean, unless you win like a Nebula or a Hugo, that probably would, or like a Writers of the Future probably would definitely supercharge your career. Or what kind of the industry standard awards are that authors win. But often the odds of winning those awards are pretty slim, can be difficult, and you got to ask yourself if it's worth the money and the emotional investment if there's an entry fee. So like Writers of the Future, there's not an entry fee, so it doesn't cost you anything. I don't think you have anything to lose by submitting to a contest like that. And, the Hugos and Nebulas, I think those are selected, depending on where you've gotten a story published. So, those are going to be reputable, but, your chances are pretty low, I think, statistically. But yeah, there's no doubt that if you win those will help you. But your run-of-the-mill award that no one's ever heard of, probably not. Okay, Komodo, what do you think of an author publishing a story and years later rewriting and republishing that story? Yeah, Komodo, I'm not a fan of that. I think that you should let a story stand. Dean Wesley Smith has talked a few times about how going back and doing that can actually be insulting to your readers, because there could be people that bought that story that, you wrote years ago, and maybe they loved it. And then you go back and change it, and it's like, it's like you're saying, oh, well, you loved it, but sorry, it wasn't good enough. I had to redo it, So, keep your readers in mind too. There could be stories you tell that they really enjoy, and maybe there are only a few people that like the story, but honor those few people. Keep them in your mind, and don't do anything that completely changes it. Now, if there's typos and things like that in the story, that's another story. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying to not fix typos, but in terms of your story itself and your characters and your arcs, just leave it as it is. You would be better served, and you would learn more by applying that knowledge that you learned to your next book, right? Because then your skill level is going to be higher. You'll be able to execute a little bit more. And, you may have made some mistakes with that first book or that book that you wrote years ago that just can't be fixed. There might be some structural problems that all of the editing in the world is not really going to help you, right? And so that you get a diminishing return. And I think that you would be better spent taking that energy and putting it into the next thing. Opinion of one. So, okay, guys, I unfortunately have a hard stop. I don't see any more questions, but I have a hard stop now because I've got to do some things before I go overseas. So, what a wonderful year, everybody! We've had an amazing year, and all my regulars, it's been amazing to talk to you every month. I certainly look forward to these, and next year we're going to carry the same schedule. So, I'll look up the date for the next Power Hour. See, the next Power Hour will be... Oh, perfect. That actually works really well. It's going to be Saturday, January 7th. Same time, 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern, and I think that's 8 o'clock West Coast. Okay, so Saturday, January 7th, we will be back. And we're going to have some fun. I may look into some ways for varying things up a little bit more. I do plan on coming back to YouTube, making regular videos at some point in 2023. I probably won't be doing regular weekly videos. I might have like one video a month. All right. So I'm kind of planning that and figuring out what that's going to look like. So I'm excited for that too. So everybody have a wonderful Christmas, wonderful holiday, and Happy New Year. And I'll talk to you next year. Peace.